Eric, we're going to cross over the Atlantic. So Eric has been working with DBR since 1994.
Yes.
Working as technical director or assistant technical director in the Bordeaux properties. Then ran since 2004 Domaine d'Aussière, which is in the Languedoc, in Corbière. So was responsible for renovating or reviving the purchase there. And since 2008 is responsible for everything outside of Bordeaux. So all the estates that DBR own outside of Bordeaux. So that is Aussière still, but also Los Vascos, Bodegas Caro, and now DBR Citic in China. So that's quite a portfolio of properties. So we're going to taste wines from both Argentina and from Chile with you this morning, including the new wine from Los Vascos, which is the Carmenere, which is a new adventure for DBR.
Thank you for the introduction, Wendy. Yes, and before to speak about the estate and the wine of Los Vascos and Caro, it's important to say that for me, it's important to to speak after the Bordeaux wines, and particularly after Charles, because before to go in Chile, Argentina, and other countries, the history of DBR begin in France, in Bordeaux, and particularly in Lafite, and then the experience and the knowledge before arrive from Bordeaux, from Lafite before, Duart-Milon, Rieux-Sec, and l'Évangile. And then only 100 years later, in 1999, it begins with Chile, where DBR was the first non-speaking Spanish company in the wine in the vineyard, and then it was a strong pioneer experience at this time. And when DBR create and develop a vineyard in other country, we always apply the same method, which is based on observation, a stronger observation of the climate, of the technique, the culture, the tradition of the people, what they do, why they do that. And it's very, very, very important, because for us, we are sure that that is the best way to find the best expression of the wines. It's adaptation of knowledge, adaptation of experience to other country. It's not a simple transfer, because the objective is never to do Bordeaux wines in other country. Our objective is always to find the stronger expression of the grapes, of the terroir, of the tradition in all the country. And that's why the wine from DBR are always very characteristic from each country, but with a touch of Bordeaux and a touch of Lafite sometimes. And if without that, you just make some sort of Bordeaux in another country, or sort of Bourgogne in another country, and we think that it's not interesting to...
There's very much a respect for the local tradition, the local people.
And all the country have a strong culture of vineyard usually. Then that's why it's important to respect that. And without this method, I think it's not possible to find the best expression of the terroir.
It's very interesting. When you think of Lafite, you think of a very traditional Bordeaux chateau, to see how dynamic and how forward-thinking the DBR has been in all these ventures, making accessible wines in Bordeaux, or being the pioneers abroad too. It's very exciting to see that marriage of the old, the traditional, the new, and the innovative that come together, and I think show very clearly in these wines.
And then in 1988, it began in Los Vascos, which is managed for more than 25 years now, like a chateau. The great particularity of Los Vascos is that it's a chateau of almost 600 hectares, but this is the biggest estate of Colchagua, because we have only one vineyard in the same place, and sometimes we can purchase grape from other
producers,
terroirs, but the 80% of our production came from our estates in Colchagua, concentrate on this terroir.
Okay, so this gives you a consistency, presumably, from one vintage to the next.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely. In Chile, in South America, usually, in generally, there is less effect of the vintage.
Okay.
Because it's not like in Bordeaux, because the climate can be very different, and in France, in a lot of countries, can be very different. It makes the difference between the vintage. In South America, there is less effect. There is an effect, but less. But what you say is right. The fact that we are a big single estates makes the regularity and the consistency of the wine.
This is a new wine.
Yes, yes, and particularly interesting because the history of Carmenere. The history of Carmenere is very particular because you know that this grape is a whole grape from Bordeaux, one of the oldest grape from Bordeaux with the Cabernet Franc, even before the Cabernet Sauvignon, before the phylloxera crisis. And after the crisis, because it was a not easy grape to grow, it disappeared and remain only the Merlot, the Cabernet Franc, and the Cabernet Sauvignon, of course, and a little bit of Petit Verdot. But and this grape almost disappeared in the world, and then was rediscovered in Chile, very close to Los Vascos, in Colchagua Valley, in a vineyard. And then in the middle of Merlot, they identify and recognize, after genetic study, that it was Carmenere, which is a sort of son of a Cabernet Franc and un Gros Cabernet, which is a very rare grape today. But it's clearly a grape of the family of the Cabernet. And it makes similitude sometime with the Cabernet Franc, particularly in my opinion.
So this is the first time you've done a single varietal Carmenere?
Yes, but not exactly, because somewhere the wine from Los Vascos, le 10 de Los Vascos and Cabernet Sauvignon Los Vascos are most very, very majoritarily Cabernet Sauvignon, more than 85% of Cabernet Sauvignon, that they are almost varietal wines. But with the Carmenere, I will say that we are looking for perhaps a more pure expression of the variety. Yes, and if possible, we will try to do always 100%, which is not, we are not obliged. It's possible to use 15% of other grapes, but for us, because this grape is particularly interesting with a strong character, we will try each year to use 100% of Carmenere.
Describe this wine to us. What is
in the noise, I recognize the very classic. I said to you that the Carmenere have a strong character. You immediately recognize this very particular freshness, which is close for some people to greenness. But I will say that this freshness, greenness for other people, is it's not a vegetal note; it's a varietal note. This is the real expression of the Carmenere in Chile and these very hot climates. Sometimes because of the warm, then almost the maturation is almost stopped, and even if they are very, very mature, the wine can keep this very fresh, close to greenness notes. But for me, it's a very clear varietal expression. You always find green pepper,
bell peppers,
and also laurel. Yes, so it's always very spicy,
Bay leaf.
always
Yeah,
very
yeah.
spicy, and then it's the noise is very, very characteristic.
It's very ripe on the palate, though. Very fruit-driven, very ripe on the palate.
And in the mouth, this is the same. We are close to greenness, but when you feel how sweet are the tannins, it means that the wine is matured. Because you are close to greenness with very sweet, very round, very soft tannins, and then this is the expression of Carmenere.
And again, a wine that's very accessible now for me. This is drinking beautifully already.
Yes, because one of the characteristics is to have a very low acidity, sometimes too low for the winemakers, and it makes that it's very easy, very round in the mouth, and always very drinkable young, but in the same time you feel that the tannins we have a good concentration, and the wines have a real good capacity for aging.
What would you serve this wine with, Eric?
For this wine, and because it's very spicy, very fresh, I will say that what I like very much in Chile, for example, is all meat barbecue with grilled vegetables, without sauce, spicy vegetables, pepper, tomatoes, potatoes, and I think it's very this spicy note gives this capacity to be blended with barbecue and vegetables. Yeah.
It's delicious. Very interesting comparison after the Bordeaux wine.
And why not with spicy cook? Perhaps sometime like Mexican food. I think the wine can support
very spicy
food.